The judge who set the killer free. Justice denied. The jury said life in prison. The evidence was undeniable, but the judge said time served. 14 months for murder. This is the story of the judge, the killer, and the family who refuses to be silenced. He was 19 years old, full of life, a college student with dreams of becoming a journalist. His family called him the light of the house, someone who always carried a camera, always looking for stories, never imagining he would become one himself. One night, while walking back from class, he accidentally filmed a man dealing drugs. That man's name was David Lorne. Days later, his body was found behind an abandoned building, beaten beyond recognition. The police moved quickly. Witnesses stepped forward. Phone records tied David to the scene. The evidence was overwhelming. When the trial began, the family believed justice was certain. The prosecutors presented a clear, airtight case. Witnesses testified. Forensic experts spoke. And the jury came back unanimous, guilty of second-degree murder. They recommended life in prison. For a brief moment, the family believed justice had prevailed. But in the American justice system, one person holds more power than 12. That person was Judge X. He listened to the jury's recommendation. He listened to the family's cry for justice. And then he turned everything upside down. Instead of life in prison, he sentenced David to time served. 14 months. That was all a human life was worth in his courtroom. The courtroom gasped. The victim's mother collapsed in tears. Journalists who had covered trial for decades said they had never seen anything like it. But when the shock faded, a darker truth began to emerge. The judge was not impartial. Court records and old political donations revealed ties to David's father, a wealthy real estate developer with influence in local politics. For years, whispers of corruption had surrounded the judge, but this ruling made those whispers undeniable. The family appealed. They marched outside the courthouse with signs that read, "Justice for all," and 14 months is not justice. Reporters dug deeper, uncovering other questionable rulings, cases where wealth and connections seemed to tilt the scales. Each time, the judge walked away untouched, shielded by a system that rarely holds its own accountable. Meanwhile, the killer walked free. He returned to his life, his neighborhood, while the victim was buried in the ground. Friends of the victim spoke out, horrified that a life could be taken with so little consequence. On social media, outrage exploded. Thousands demanded answers. Petitions were signed. Yet still, the ruling stood. This is not just one story. It is part of a larger pattern. A justice system where those with money and influence can bend the rules, while ordinary families are left shattered. Across the country, other families tell similar stories. Evidence ignored, sentences reduced, killers walking free because of connections behind closed doors. Should jury verdict be final? Should judges with conflicts of interest be forced to step aside? These are not abstract questions. They decide whether justice is blind, or if it simply looks the other way when power and money enter the room. This case is one of many, and each time it happens, another family is left in pieces. If you believe these stories deserve the spotlight, join us here on Emperor-World-Facts. Subscribe, because silence only helps corruption, but together we can expose it.